Interesting bill from this minister. It's one which has moved from being something which was very, very urgent. In fact, if one looks at the bill, you can immediately accuse the minister of two things. One, of being very, very slow at getting her legislation into the House, and secondly, to be lazy and not even getting the third line of her bill on page 2, the first substantive page of the bill, correct. She's got the wrong date in the bill, for example, and that's just a sign of how poorly this minister has focused on her legislation and the requirement to get it right. I also want to quote from the material that the minister has supplied to us, where her in the consultation section of the explanatory note to the bill, it says officials have advised that they have concerns about developing the proposed amendments to the rest breaks and meal breaks provisions of the Principal Act at speed and without adequate consultation. This may result in a policy being designed and implemented with unintended consequences, including unforeseen regulatory compliance impacts and administrative costs. So what we have now is the major embarrassment of a minister who introduced a bill nearly a year ago as something which was really, really urgent, badly drafted, badly consulted, not worked on properly, and then she just leaves it there sitting on the order paper for that period of time. And what did she say at the time was the reason for it? She said it was the air traffic controllers. She said there was an urgent problem with the air traffic controllers. You know what the urgent problem was? It was some dipstick in CAA who indicated that everyone had to have their meal breaks around the country at the same time, and that pilots were too thick to work out that when their flights are delayed, they have to contact CAA, contact the air traffic controllers to say they're going to be late. They do it anyway. They do it. Pilots, when they are off their schedule, always contact air traffic controllers. The air traffic controllers know. It comes up on their screens. They know if a plane's going to be late and their meal break or their rest break might be delayed. It's a basic safety thing. There was never a problem other than, I think, one very close to a figment of the imagination in the mind of the Minister of Labour, who was searching for an excuse, who was scrambling for an excuse in order to tip this legislation over. But of course what she forgot was that as the bill was coming through the House, she was less than full and frank. She didn't really tell us what she thought. She was in pre-election, let's not disturb anyone, let's pretend that we're friendly to workers and especially women workers. She was in that sort of phase at that time, and she made some really interesting comments on it. She said, quote, "It merely codifies what is already happening in workplaces and it should be relatively uncontroversial." So what's changed? What has changed in workplaces since that time? Well, air traffic controllers and nothing else. And then there's then I think there's a lovely statement, one which I very rarely agree with the minister, but one that she made on the third reading of the legislation. Rest breaks and meal breaks are not there just for the health and safety issues, of course. They are also there for the socialising impact between employees so that they can get to know each other. It can be a happy and productive workplace, and we certainly support that. That's what that minister said. And she's right. You have a cup of tea together, you have a break, you have a chat, you get to know your workmates, you have a happier workplace, you're more productive, and it's a good thing. Well, why is she going to wreck it now? Well, why were productive workplaces important before the election, but they're not important after the election? I think, Mr. Speaker, there's been very little in what the Minister has said that would convince us that it is at all important. I think what we are seeing, though, is something coming from the Minister, a Minister who was one of the main promoters before her time in Parliament of the Employment Contracts Act, someone who has quite an interesting history in industrial relations law over a period of time. And what we are seeing is her getting back to her natural roots. She is getting back to the point of supporting the sweatshop employers, supporting, as she has done, as she has represented in the past. She used to represent them outside Parliament, and now she's representing them inside Parliament. She's doing their bidding here today. So notwithstanding her fine words before the election, when she was pretending to be friendly to workers, especially pretending to be friendly to women workers, she's turned her back on them, she's rejected them, and she's saying, I don't care if you don't get a break. You can work right through that time or have your break at the end of the shift. No, it's sort of wonderful. You know, one of the things which will flow out of this is that you'll work the 8 hours and then you're allowed your 2 10-minute breaks and then half an hour. Well, what a unpaid for half an hour. That is the sort of approach that this Minister is promoting at this stage, and I think, Mr. Speaker, she should just admit that this bill is badly drafted. She has not taken the last year that the bill has been sitting around to get it updated. She's done no further consultation on this bill in that time, and she was too damn lazy to update it. Too damn shoddy. Well, like John Key's Trust, really. Shoddy. Slack. Sloppy. Sloppy's the word. The Minister, like the Prime Minister, has been sloppy in her approach to her work, and she didn't even have the good grace to get the bill printed with the right date on it. She is so far out of date, and now that we have the Minister of Justice in the House, someone who I think has a much better reputation for consulting on these things and would certainly never get to the first reading of a bill and have the wrong date on it. He would never do that. Far too competent to do that. And I just think that sometime over the next 10 minutes it would be good if Simon Power had a word in Kate Wilkinson's ear and he told her that when you're introducing the legislation, don't be sloppy, just get the date right to start with.